The sun had barely risen over the rugged landscape of the Apache lands, casting long shadows across the red-dusted hills that stretched endlessly. Under the pale morning sky, Jackson Hale drove his beaten-up pickup down the narrow dirt trail, the engine's rumble swallowed by the quiet vastness of the land. He had spent years chasing fortunes in the oil fields of Texas and Oklahoma. But this was different. This land, it had a story etched into every rock and every ridge, a story older than any man could remember. And Jackson, despite his reputation for risk and instinct, felt a rare sense of reverence as he navigated through the winding canyon. He wasn't just searching for oil. He was searching for a break, for something that would change everything. The drill site he had been scouting for months was nothing more than a clearing framed by stubborn mesquite and towering canyon walls. Local lore whispered of minerals and black gold beneath the surface. But the Apache tribe, fierce and protective, had never permitted anyone to dig. Jackson, being the shrewd opportunist he was, knew that trespassing here would come with consequences. But temptation had a voice that was too sweet to ignore. He parked his truck, stretched, and pulled out the old, creased maps that he had secretly acquired. Every line, every mark, spoke of promise, a promise that could make him richer than he had ever imagined. He started the drill at first light, his hands steady, his mind focused, but his heart pounded with unease. Something about this land felt sacred, almost alive. The sound of the drill piercing through. The earth was deafening. In the silence of the canyon, hours passed, sweat dripping down his brow, until finally, the metal bit struck a deep pocket, releasing a thick, black gush that shot up like a miniature geyser. Jackson's eyes widened. This was it. Oil, pure and abundant, flowing freely as if the land itself had been waiting to reveal its secret. He stumbled back, unable to contain the mixture of triumph and awe. He had done it. He had found what countless men had dreamed of but failed to seize. Yet as he stared at the black liquid pooling around the drill, a gnawing feeling settled in his chest. He knew the stories, how the Apache tribe had fought, bled, and survived to protect this land for centuries. Taking the oil would be more than a crime of property. It would be a violation of something sacred, something intangible but undeniable. And in that quiet canyon, Jackson made a decision that would confound everyone who knew him. He walked away. He walked away from the rig, from the wealth that would have made him untouchable, from the temptation that had driven so many men to ruin. He left everything behind, leaving the oil untouched, a silent promise to the land and its people. Word of his discovery inevitably leaked. Investors called, eager for details. Old acquaintances offered partnerships, each more lucrative than the last. Jackson refused them all, citing logistics and market fluctuations. In truth, he couldn't shake the weight of the decision he had made, the ghost of the canyon whispering in his mind. He traveled the country, took odd jobs, and slowly faded from the oil world's radar. But the story of the man who walked away from untold wealth spread like wildfire, earning him a reputation that was equal parts legend and mystery. Meanwhile, the Apache tribe, unaware of Jackson's discovery, continued their quiet lives, tending the land, passing down the stories of their ancestors. The oil beneath their feet remained untouched, a secret of the earth, until whispers reached the elders years later, rumors of outsiders poking around, of strange machines, of black liquid seeping where it should not. The elders gathered in council, their faces etched with lines of worry and suspicion. They spoke of the balance between the land and the people, of the curses that come when greed overshadows respect. And even as they deliberated, life carried on, the canyon sun rising and setting, as if nothing had changed. Jackson's life, however, had shifted in ways he couldn't anticipate. Walking away had made him richer in wisdom, perhaps poorer in coin, but it had also marked him. He had become a wanderer of sorts, a man between worlds. People still approached him with deals, with questions, with admiration, but he offered nothing. Every night, he dreamed of the canyon, of the black oil glistening in the sun, of the decision that had defined him. And yet, despite the temptation that haunted him, he never returned. The land had claimed a piece of his soul the moment he left that drill, and he understood that some treasures were too sacred to touch. But the world has a way of catching up with choices, no matter how carefully made. 7 years would pass before the consequences of that day would reveal themselves. Not through lawsuits, not through fortune, but through a force stronger than greed, justice. And when the Apache tribe finally returned, the story that unfolded would be something beyond imagination. A tale of patience, of ancestral power, and of reckoning that would shake the very foundations of Jackson's beliefs. Even as Jackson settled into his quiet life, he sensed that something was stirring, a shadow on the horizon, a whisper in the wind, a pull from the land he had once defied. He couldn't see it yet, couldn't understand it, but the universe has a way of threading destiny through the most unexpected paths, and the first threads were beginning to weave themselves, silently, inexorably, toward a future that no amount of money, cleverness, or caution could ever alter.